start because I don't know much about you just yet, so I was waiting for that interview. So first of all, if you can maybe introduce yourself, what is it you do?
Sure. So my name is Bennett. Yeah, sure. My name is Bennett Schwartz. I'm a high performance coach, and I work with adults. And I also have a teen program that I work with high schoolers on really helping them bring out the best in them, to really make them become who it is that they want to become, and give them the tools to allow them to do that.
Okay, amazing, amazing. That's very good. And how long are you already on that journey of helping people on the high school? When did you decide to start this journey?
Sure. So when I first started my career, I actually started in education. And what I found is that what I liked about the education was more the informal education, which in our world is the coaching aspect of it. So it wasn't necessarily standing in front of the classroom and teaching students, even though I did that quite a lot, but it was more the, after class, or it was like guys were going through something and they needed some help or they needed some direction, and really helping people with that was something that I was always attracted to. So up until 4 years ago, I was the dean of students at a school, and I shifted and transitioned into this coaching thing. And I started working with people, mostly with adults. And recently, I actually started going back to my roots in terms of really helping high schoolers, because I found with the adults that I was working with is that there were so many common themes and ideas that they just didn't know about. And the fact that I could help people when they were younger, I could help people save like 15, 20, 30 years of their lives, because they just didn't know it was a thing. They didn't know mindset was a thing. They didn't know journaling was a thing. They didn't know you could become more confident, or just because you're an introvert doesn't mean you can't do public speaking, and just so many different ideas about becoming somebody. Adults didn't really know it. So I'm like, you know what? I got to go back a little bit and really help the younger generation. And if I could help them do those things, then they could start working on those things already. So by the time they become adults, they'll already be able to do the things that they already want to do. They don't have to waste so much time just running around in circles.
Yeah, it's very good. Thank you very much for sharing, because I remember when I was in school, I mean, as you said, like mindset, what is that?
Right.
No, nobody talks about that. Anything regarding mindset and setting yourself goals, and you can do things. It's all about, I mean, me personally, we do homeschooling because we don't like the process of the school from my and my wife experience. And it's very good that you go to schools and you do it. And do you go and you do like classes? You are in front of the full class and you share the ideas?
So it's actually after school, and it's for students who opt into it. So it's not necessarily for everybody. I don't like taking on so many kids at a time. It's about 10 to 15 kids a month that I actually take on within each group. And the reason why I do this is because I really want to give the student the attention. I really want to help them. So whether they're actually in a school setting or homeschooling, it really could work, because it's really an after school curriculum. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to just teach them those skills that they should be knowing already. And if we could start teaching them those skills, then it could help them even be more successful, because, how many people are so successful in their lives, but it's not because of the grades that they got in school. It's something else happened, right? There's so many other things going on. Like, are the most successful people in my class the ones who were the smartest? Like, no, not necessarily, but they had something else going for them. So if we could teach the students to have those things, the intangibles that the schools are not teaching, then I think it could prepare students for business, life, relationships, and really just be able to live the most, meaningful life that they can.
Yeah. So if you are doing this in school, what is there anything which stick in your mind? Like, because I listen a lot of Jim Rohn, for example, and I know that he also taught at schools. And I know when he was sharing some ideas what the success means and things like that. So is there anything which stuck in your mind from one of your students or kids when you do after school, maybe some realizations they said and you were like, yes, that's it?
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things that a lot of students come over to me to ask is they want to build their confidence, and they just don't know how to build their confidence. And going to my adult clients, like they don't realize that a confidence is something that you can actually work on and build. And most people, they come into a situation, and I think there's a lot more pressure when you're in high school because there's a lot more social pressure. So you want to become confident. Like, you walk into a cafeteria and you want to sit at like the table, but like you can't because you don't have the confidence to do it. And it's really explaining to them that the confidence comes after the fact. First, what we really need is the courage to do something. If we can build up the courage to do something, then we can get the confidence that we can actually do it. But until we actually take the action, then we're not going to be able to become confident. So when kids come to me and say, Bennett, I want to become more confident, I'm like, no, you don't. You want to become more courageous, because right now it's not a time to be confident. It's a time to be courageous. It's a time to be bold, to recognize that it's not going to feel okay. It's going to feel uncomfortable, but yet we still have to take the action. And once we can do that and do it again and again and again, then we can become confident just walking into it. And that's why I think like a lot of freshmen, when they walk into high school, there's so much new going on. But over time, when they start getting comfortable with what's going on, they're like, oh, okay, like I know where everything is. I'm more familiar. It's because they built the confidence to just be able to do the things that they want to be doing. And by building that up at such a young age, it can just set the expectation right, where they're not supposed to feel comfortable, but the discomfort is normal. We should accept it. And then even with, just in spite of it, still take the action that we're looking to do.
Yeah. Two things just pop in my mind when you are talking about that. One of the things is that when some people are asking like, yeah, you need to have a courage. Like people are saying like, yeah, I'm afraid to do it. I'm afraid to do it. Or I have a fear of doing it. It's like, what is courage? It's like, I'm afraid, but I do it anyway. That's the courage. You are afraid. You take the uncomfortable action, but after you're gonna get rewarded. And I can see it from my personal life, from my businesses, what I built. It's not. I don't want to pick up the phones and be phoning everybody. I don't want to necessarily do that, but I do it anyway. And then after there are results, and after, as you said, you build your confidence because you are like, actually, I'm not that bad. Actually, what I learned is good. And another thing is what popped into my mind was, what was it? Now I forget. I forget the second one because I broke myself a pattern. What was it? Anyway, I'll get back to it when I remember. So when you are doing the students, you are doing building the courage and things like that, and you do the same as a high performance coach with adults, right?
Yeah.
What do you think it's easier, to be working with adults or the high school students?
Yeah, I think they both come with their, I don't want to say challenges, but I think they both come with like, the things that they have. I think adults are more open-minded to it because they see the value in it. They have less pressure socially, so they could do it like by themselves. They could really work on it, and because they actually invest in it, I think they get more out of it. So, however, though, when you're an adult, you're working on with like a lot more years of trying to fix up. Right. So it's like, they could be in their 40s or 50s, and then they're going back. I got to fix the last 20, 30 years of my habit doing one thing, and I have to just change my habit. Not to say it's not possible, but just a little tougher. Yeah. When it comes to the high schoolers, and this is why I cater my program towards students who are actually willing to learn and be open-minded to be coached. And like being coachable is one of the cores that I need as a coach, because if the student is coming in and he's just being like a normal teenager, which is totally fine, and I don't want to hear anything, I don't want to listen, then like it's not going to work, because they have to be open-minded a little bit to understand. Here are some ideas that you maybe not have heard about. And I'm not saying you need to take on all of this, but if you could take one or two nuggets from this, your life can transform tremendously. So I think when it comes to the high schoolers, it's finding the ones who are actually motivated to actually make the change. And when it comes to the adults, I think because they're in a different stage in life, they see the value more than, let's say, a high schooler might.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And exactly as you said, like when people invest physical, like money into it for your coaching, so they are also invested emotionally. So they are tend to do it more. And I can see it from my past. Like I had, for example, one person and she had no money, and I was starting with my coaching and she wanted really help and I wanted to help her. So I was like, okay, I'll do it for free for you. But she took just 2 sessions and after she gave up because she didn't invest. Right. And I have it all the time, people asking, yeah, but can you do it for free? It's like, yeah, I can, but you're not going to learn anything because you're not going to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think we've all been in that case where somebody offered a free course or free class and we signed up for it and we just didn't show up to it.
Yeah.
Right. So the fact that you're invested in it and the fact that it means something to you, just another pull for you to actually get out of it. I heard a great line. They said, the more you pay, the more you pay attention. Because think about it, like Vincent, if I would pay you $100,000 for an hour of your time, right? I would be with a notebook and I would be recording it and I would be taking every little thing down. Every time you said like one word, I would just suck out so much because there's so much value in it. But if like if I had a free coaching session, okay, like let me hear what he has to say, but like I'm not going to like change or I'm not going to take anything. So really being able to investing, I think, is so important. And that's why I'm a big believer in investing in my own personal growth and my own coaches, because I know the more that I can invest, the more I can become, and the more I can become, then the more people I can help, and the bigger impact we can make.
Yeah, definitely. So if actually on that topic, if I can ask, do you have anywhere written, or do you know from your head how much money already you invested into your self-education with any various training programs that you've done? I'm talking about after university, like self-development.
Yeah. Let me think. I think right now, I think it's over $50,000. And probably could be closer to 70, just off the top of my head.
Yeah. And I can see that a lot of people cannot imagine those numbers. And I know when I was starting, I wanted to do property, but the investment was like a free 2 hours kind of course. And after they were starting me £1,000 ticket. And the first, I didn't take the action because I was starting my business, like a food truck. And it took me 4 years to get back and do it. And even though nothing changed in those 4 years, I still didn't have £1,000. It still didn't help me these 4 years. Right. And after this £1,000, I was like, oh my God, what I'm doing? Do I do something even right? And after I learned something, I'm like, oh, and I applied. I'm like, good. And after I bought the course from Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, Knowledge Business Blueprint, for 2,000. And it was a big decision for me because I invested 2,000. I'm like, oh my God, it's so much money. But yeah, but so far I'm very close as you. Like we invested £50,000 over the past 4 years. And I can see with every investment, we just grow and grow and grow. Yeah. And it's just people need to take this first steps, I believe, into investment. And it doesn't need to be thousands. It can be even £500 if it's the right product, the right program for them, which can transform their life.
Right, for sure. And I think a big part is becoming resourceful, because I remember when I first started getting started in my own personal development, I didn't even have the funds. And it was like a $7,000 investment or something like that. And I'm like, I have no idea where we're going to, and I found a sponsor to help sponsor it. And for me, that was a big shift in my own mindset. Like, hey, even though I can't personally afford it, how can I find the money? It's not I can, because it's important to you and can make a shift. Then then it's how can I? And Alex Hormozy talks about, it's the best investment is not in the S&P 500, but it's in the S&Me 500. Yeah, really investing in yourself to become all that you can become, because that's something nobody can take away from you. If you learn something, if you learn a skill or trade, nobody can take that away from you. So you could go to any other country, you could, the government could come, whatever it is, but like they can't take away your knowledge. And the fact that you can invest in yourself and become somebody, that's what Jim Rohn talks about. It's not about what you get, it's about who you become. And really becoming somebody is the most important. Yeah, that's true for sure. Okay, it's funny thing is like how the universe works, to be honest, because when you said about Alex, obviously is the salesperson, right? He's teaching those things, and I don't listen him too much, to be honest. I listen usually if I go to YouTube. I listen to Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, Brendon Bouchard, and I have my Jim Rohn and so. But today, when I was doing my morning routine, I don't know why I was listening Alex for 40 minutes. Yeah, nice.
It's like how it works. Yeah, it's so funny. Okay, I have another questions for you. So you are doing this coaching. What did you do before? You said you were teaching also, or? Yeah,
so I was in education. My last stint, I was a dean of students for 4 years. I also have been investing in real estate on the side, just because when I'm in education, I knew that I needed to do and shift something because the finances weren't going to make sense. So I do have some real estate background, but I was more in the educational space.
And what is your why? What is your driving force for this? All of it, what you do now?
Yeah, as Dean Graziosi says, like you have to dig like 7 layers deep, right? Or 5 or 7 layers deep to find out your why. And one of my whys is this word that comes up, and it keeps coming up in different areas, is impact. And I think for me, that's the biggest thing. If I can have an impact on one person and help them shift something, that's my biggest why. Just because I think finding the why is important, and it could be that like it shifts over time, but I think for now, the one that I keep going back to is impact. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it keeps changing as we grow, obviously. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for that. And so that's the impact, that's your why. And where is it you see yourself, for example, in I don't know, 12, 24 months from now? What do you think where you'll arrive? Yeah, so my plan is to really grow this high school program, just because I think this is something that is really beneficial. I think lots of parents are talking about the fact that they want their children to have some support like this. And I think, we already started, but I think once it catches wildfire, I think this thing could be really huge. And then really looking to focus on that, have a handful of one-on-one clients.
Mhm.
And also I'm going to, I just started a YouTube channel recently, so continue to grow that and really just try to spread the message and try to impact as many people as possible, through that.
Mhm. Yeah, very good, amazing. So see, we have a lot of things in common.
Yeah.
I also see behind you, you have your book. I think I've seen it on your
Yeah.
Instagram. This is
Yeah.
what you wrote, yeah, Lost and Found.
Yeah. Lost and Found is a book I wrote. Very easy. I'm not a big reader, so I made it a very simple read. It's not so many pages. Words are a little bigger. Spacing is a little bigger. You can find them on Amazon. It's like $10. And it's
Okay.
stuff I've used in my coaching practice and personal life to like really just help people, find their path and get back on.
Okay, amazing. If you would be up for it, I'll make a swap.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, sure.
I'll send you my book and you send me your book.
That sounds great.
And I'm the same. It's super easy. It's like for kids reading, because obviously English is not my first language. So I'm limited with words. So it's very, very easy.
Okay, great.
So yeah, I will be more than happy to read your book. I always like to see what other people, are doing, especially in that industry. And I think what another question would pop in my mind is, if there is someone, and the thing is, you do it for the students and for your clients, but if there is someone who wants to start their own business, whatever it is, and they want to start, but they don't know what to do. First of all, maybe they don't know what the business is, but what would be like few or 1, 2, 3 advices to tell them what to do first? Because I know people who are overwhelmed and they go to work and they're like, yeah, I don't like to being at work. When I was hearing the speech from Arnold Schwarzenegger that 74% of people in USA, they hate their job. So I think those people would like to change it if they would know what to do. So what would be the start for them? What would you recommend?
Right. So I think there's a difference between the people who know what they want to do that just can't get themselves to do it, versus the people who don't even like know what they want to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So the person who doesn't necessarily know what it is that they want to be doing, I would just get them to just be creative. Try to figure out what hobbies they have, especially now, Tony Robbins, Indy Graziosi last week did his whole free presentation about owning your future and really trying to see how you can monetize your experience. And I think that's a great place that people can really look to build, because I think it's such an important field. And I feel like it's so natural to people. And, I think one of the biggest things is that people are impatient. So they want to be doing it already and they want it to happen now.
Yeah.
But if you start to be patient and you even have a job, even if you don't like it, but you could start to play around with it, start to work with people, start to get testimonials, even if you're not charging anything, just start to get your name out there. Then you could slowly try to transition into that situation where you can actually make it a full-time thing or look to monetize it in like a possible way. But there is a possibility for it. It's not, I don't want to say it's like, social media, it's easy, you just do these 3 things. Like, it's not going to be easy, but that's okay. It's going to be hard, and that's okay. Because at the end of the day, like, it's your life, and like, you have to be the one to take responsibility for it and be the one to really make something happen. So if you could take that responsibility, if you could take the ownership of making something happen, or just trying to figure out what it is, then, I think that's number one. For the people who know what it is that they want to do and they're just scared, the biggest thing, I know it sounds silly, but it's like, you got to take that courage and just got to start. It's not about being confident in the moment, like we spoke about earlier. It's about just just start. Get out there, try to figure it out, because once you get started, then you could start to tweak things. Like, people want to be so perfect when they come into a situation, but because they don't know necessarily what it is that they're doing yet, they don't know how to fix it or tweak it. So that's why even like when I speak to my salespeople, like people who like hire me to work on their sales with them, I'm working with them and it's like, let's just get on the phone so we know what to start working on. Like, don't worry about getting a yes yet. Just get on the phone. Let's try to figure out what the process is. Once we have the process, then we can start tweaking things and shifting and trying to figure out what it is we need to be saying. The more steps you put in, then the more confidence you build. So I would say if somebody knows what they want to do, just get started, get your name out there, start speaking about it. And you might say to yourself, like, who am I? How can I do it? So one of the things that I use to just shift my own mindset is to stop focusing about yourself. So many times we focus about ourselves, that we can't do it, that we can't put ourselves out there, that we can't reach out to people. But if we could put the energy and the focus on the people we're looking to serve, the people that we're looking to help, it's a lot easier for you to put yourself out there because it's not about you. So even if you mess up, it's not about you, it's about the other person, but the people that you can help, the people who don't even know you exist, but who are like dying for you to like reach out to them. So the fact that you can do that, the fact that you have that ability to put that out there, those are the people we need to be focusing on. If we could focus on those people, then it'd be a lot easier for us to actually take that action because it's not about us. It's about those people who need our help.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I totally agree. I often see people, when we said earlier about taking action, the courage and all those things, is because they are focusing on themselves. They are like, oh, what if those people out there looking at me? What they think about me? And they think they are walking on the streets and everybody looking at them. No, nobody cares about you. Nobody cares. So sooner the people realize, and they will get it out of there, that it's not about them, it's about the people they want to help, or whatever they offer, product, services. So much easier it's going to be for them. But yeah, amazing. Yeah. So I think, Bennett, it was a very pleasure to have you here today. I'm sure we'll do another interview in the future, because we can always do them, once a year or something like that, where you are progressing with your business and with your students, either on high school or with your professional students. And I'll make sure I'll put in the description all your information. If somebody would like to reach out to you, have some questions, or if you would, want to get your book or anything like that, I'll put everything in the description. And I don't know if you have any final words you want to say, you can say, then we'll see.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. And I would say the final word is a Jim Rohn saying that if you want things to get better, you need to get better. And I think if we can start taking ownership of that, if we could start becoming who we want to become, then I think we'll start to be able to start living the lives that we all truly want to be living, which I think is something that's very noble for everybody to try to do.
Yeah, amazing. And also one more thing, last thing, you didn't mention from where you are from?
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. All right. Boxing?
There you go.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, perfect. So I think it was good.
Great. Yeah, it's great. Thank you so much for having me. It's great. I love talking about this stuff, so I really enjoy it. So thank you so much.